welcome back to our channel, or welcome if you're new. My name is Monica, and I feel like it's been so long since we've done individual videos of us, so I hope you like it if you're new. So today I'm gonna be telling you guys about these 7 books that I've read so far. So I just got back into reading after taking like a really long break. And so I decided I would do like a little update of books that I've read that I think you guys should read as well. And I'm going to try not to spoil too much. I don't want to like give away the plot or anything, but just give in general like what the book is about and if you're interested, so you guys can go buy it. All the books that I am going to tell you guys about today, I've got them on Amazon. And I recently just got a Nook. So we're stepping up our game. And if you guys had seen the video that we did of exchanging Christmas gifts this year, GK also got me a book. So I've been reading a lot more, so I'm proud of myself, and I find it really fun like to just sit out on the porch and read and stuff. So let's get on to the first book. So I'm actually going to give these recommendations in order of how I read them. So the first book that I read when I was coming back into my reading was actually this book. So it's called We Were Liars by E. Lockhart. It's a little bit of a younger book and it's really short. So it's about a wealthy family called the Sinclairs, and they spend every summer on this island that they own. And so the cousins, and one of the cousins, her name is Candace. And Candace, along with her other cousins, are actually called liars for some reason that we don't really know. So Candace actually suffered like a head injury one of the summers on the private island that we don't really know exactly what happened, and she doesn't really know what exactly happened or how everything went down. So we in the book are basically going back in time, leading up to that summer, exactly how everything went down and what exactly happened for Candace to lose her memory and to get like the head injury that happened, until she eventually discovers what happened, which was sad is all I'm gonna say. It was actually very sad, and it also covers this like love story between Candace and, as part of like the cousins group, one of the cousins actually used to bring his friend to the private island with them. And so she kind of has a thing for the cousin's friend. His name is Gat. So it also follows kind of their little love story. They are really young in the book, so it doesn't go too deep into that. But basically, I read this book in one sitting. Granted, like that one sitting was like 8 hours, because it was when actually I was doing my hair from read to this. So I think I rated it like a 7 out of 10, just because it is younger. I'm pretty sure Candace in the book is only 14, but the ending like crushed my soul. So if that interests you guys, I totally recommend reading the book. It is really short, so you could definitely read it in one sitting. I got it for like 11 bucks on Amazon. So that was the first book. After reading this book, I had gotten a lot of recommendations on other books to read, but the most popular one was Verity by Colleen Hoover. And so this was my next read. She was a little bit thicker, not that bad. It honestly wasn't that long. And the book is so captivating that I actually finished it pretty quick. I think it took me like a couple of days, maybe a week. It's basically about this struggling author named Lowen, who is basically looking to land a writing gig because she's like super broke right now. And she ends up landing a really big role to finish this like series of books by this really famous author called Verity Crawford, who is unable to finish the books because she got into a really bad car accident. She is kind of hesitant at first. She's scared to get all of like the fame. Like she really didn't want to do a book tour or like a press release or whatever, but she ends up taking it because she obviously needs the money. And so in order to basically just get into Verity's head and figure out her like writing style, she actually ends up moving into Verity's house, which her husband and kid live in. And so let's just say as soon as she moves in, there's just like weird things happening in the house with Verity and her husband. She's reading things that Verity has written that just like, it's like a mystery to her. She kind of just doesn't understand. And then she kind of starts like uncovering things about the accident and her husband and all these little things. And then she also starts falling with Verity's husband at the same time. So overall, I rated it a 9 out of 10. Like, that book was so freaking good. That didn't even cover half of the plot, like what I just told you guys. Like, honestly, the book was freaking crazy at the end, like when you find out exactly what happened to Verity. And the only thing I would say is that the ending is kind of left a little bit open-ended, like you know what happened but you don't really know what happened, kind of thing. So that was kind of frustrating, but overall it was a really freaking good book, and I 10/10 recommend. It was kind of scary too. I was like sitting in my bed like, but yeah. So right after I finished Verity, I started reading this book that my cousin actually recommended to me, so I don't have it in hand right now, but it's called Reminders of Him, also by Colleen Hoover. I was basically on a Colleen Hoover kick. And that book is about a woman named Kenna who killed her boyfriend in a car accident, and she goes to jail for 5 years. And I'm not spoiling anything. This literally happens like in the first chapter. I'm pretty sure you already know what she did. And basically when she gets out of jail, she moves back to her and her boyfriend's hometown. Her boyfriend's name was Scotty, to reconnect with their daughter that she had lost custody of, obviously because she was in jail. Her first night back in town, she stops at this like bar, and she ends up meeting this guy who she kind of falls for him, but he's connected to Scotty in some way. We're not really sure how, but we just know that he knew him and he knew their daughter. So basically it's like this unforbidden love. They really can't be together. So she's basically like battling her feelings with this guy. She's trying to get custody of her daughter, or at least trying to see her daughter, while also trying to navigate like how to forgive herself for what happened with Scotty. And basically every chapter goes back and forth from Kenna's point of view to Ledger, which is the guy that she's falling for. So my overall rating for that book was an 8 out of 10. I do think the book was good. I just feel like it was a bit dragged out. Like, it took really long to get to the plot, and basically like just for everything to come crashing down. And I also think that like 10/10 you will cry at the end, just to let you know. I'm really into sappy books. I'm into sappy books, and I'm into mysteries, so do with that what you will. After reading Reminders of Him, I went back into like the little mystery section, and so next we have The Housemaid by Frida McFadden. And so this book, most of the books that I got were books that I had seen Ava Jules, the YouTuber, if you guys watch her, read. And so a lot of the recommendations that I got were from her videos. And so The Housemaid is about this girl named Millie, who just got out of prison for being there like 10 years, I think it was. She ends up applying to be this housekeeper for this really rich couple and their daughter. And she just kind of applies on a whim. She doesn't really think she'll get the job, but she does have a bit of luck because she does end up getting it. She ends up moving in with them as the housekeeper, and she ends up getting placed in this like super weird room in the attic that is like a super tiny door, and it locks from the outside. But nonetheless, she's really grateful for the job, and she basically has no other option. And so weird things start happening with the wife Nina, which is also the woman who hired her. She basically just like would tell her things to do and then turn around and be like, I didn't tell you to do that. Or she would just like plain old lie. Like, she had lied about this like an allergy that her daughter had or something, and then her husband would come around and be like, she's not allergic to that. Like, it was just super weird. And then Millie actually ends up getting like a little love interest with the husband as well. And so basically the first half of the book is from Millie's perspective. So when she gets out of jail, she gets hired, blah, blah. And then when you hit, it's like exactly half of the book, you go and turn into Nina's perspective, which is the wife. So the girl that hired her. So, and it gets wild after that. I think I honestly like this book better than Verity. So I rated it a 10 out of 10 just because it doesn't end open-ended. Like it gets an ending and you're strapped in the whole time. Like it's such a good book. And so I was so in love with this book that I actually got the second one. So this is called The Housemaid's Secrets by Freida McFadden. And honestly, this one wasn't as good as the first one. I rated it like a 7 out of 10. It's basically the sequel to The Housemaid, so I won't really be explaining exactly what happens in that one. If you do end up reading The Housemaid and you like that one, I do recommend that you read The Housemaid's Secrets. It is pretty good. It's just not as good. And so the last two books that I'm going to be talking about, I actually read them on the Nook. So I don't have them in hand either, but the first one is going to be The Silent Patient. So this book was actually really, really good. I think it was a more like sophisticated book than the other ones that I have read. It was definitely a more mature author. It's by Alex Michaelides, I think is how you say his last name. I'm not really sure. But basically, it's about this woman named Alicia Berenson who basically shot her husband and never spoke again. So she is a silent patient. She went to trial and was deemed basically not capable or not mentally there. So she was actually admitted into a psychiatric hospital or like a psych ward where she painted a painting called Alcestis, which basically depicted like her the night that the tragedy happened. And this psychotherapist named Theo really believed that he could help her figure out her feelings and also just talk. So when a position opened at the psych ward, he applied and ended up getting the job. And as soon as he got on the job, he specifically asked to work with Alicia. And even though the doctors were like questioning it, they just allowed him to do it. They didn't really believe that he was going to be able to get her to talk. So they just let it happen. So it's basically just about Theo like going back to that night, digging into Alicia's history and her childhood, her relationships, and just basically her overall life. The book is told from two POVs. So in the present, it's told from Theo's, and anything that's about Alicia in the past is told from Alicia's POV through him reading her diary. And I rated it a 10 out of 10. It was such a freaking good book, and you will never in your life ever see the plot coming. And so the last book is gonna be The Maidens, which is also by the same author. And this one was good too. It's kind of connected to The Silent Patient, but like barely. Like if you did read The Silent Patient before you read The Maidens, it does have a little bit of connection that you're like, oh, like this is how he got to that, whatever. But you don't need to read The Silent Patient to read The Maidens. It's about this girl named Mariana who lost her partner and then her dad and her sister, and ends up being guardian of her niece. So one night after her job as a psychotherapist, she gets a call from her niece that basically she's telling her to turn the TV on, and it says that there was a girl found stabbed, and she believes that it's her best friend Tara, because she says that she keeps calling Tara and she's not picking up. And Mariana's basically like, I'm sure it's not, like go to sleep, I'll be there in the morning. So on her way to Mariana's university, she bumps into this guy who's kind of hitting on her. He's kind of weird, and she kind of basically just like denies him, and he's basically says something along the lines like, I'll see you soon, and that he's like a psychic. So she makes it to the school, which is also the school that she had went to when she was younger, and they do find out that it was Tara who was murdered. So she then goes and breaks it to her niece that it was her best friend, and her niece basically tells her that she thinks it was this professor that she has who was named Edward Fosca, because she knew that him and Tara were having an affair. Mariana ultimately decides to end up like staying on campus and basically get to the bottom of things, because she just doesn't believe that the detectives are doing the job that they should be doing. And so she does her own little investigation and she starts questioning Professor Fosca and all his little maidens, which is this group of young girls that he specially picked to be in what gives cult vibes, and they call them the maidens. And so yeah, it's just basically Mariana going down the rabbit hole, and the plot twist is wild. You don't really see it coming. You do see it coming like right before you get told what it is. At least I did. But it was pretty good. I give it an 8 out of 10. And so that was pretty much all the books that I read in 2023. Got all these books in October for my birthday. And so I read those 7 books probably from November to January. And now I'm reading One of Us is Lying, and it's pretty good. But those are my recommendations for you guys. Let me know if you guys did want me to do a part 2 when I start reading more books again, so I can come up with like little summaries for you guys. And I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Make sure you like, comment, share, and subscribe, and we'll see you guys for the next video.